Over the past week or two, you may have heard about a game that seemed to capitalize on the outrage it knew it would cause in favor of that outrage becoming what is essentially free marketing for the game. Now, this style of marketing would be directed at a player base of people who might not have played it initially, but saw no problem with it, and would now seek it out because it would be considered taboo or offensive to play it, and that's what edgy kids like to do. If you tell someone they can't play something, damn it, they're gonna play it.
It's like we used to buy the DVDs like unrated, too hot for TV.
Yeah.
And it would be literally the same movie.
Yeah, it's just whatever was cut from the movie.
Cut for time.
And literally couldn't be rated by the board.
So the latest game falling into that category is Active Shooter. And yes, it's not the first game to attempt to sell copies by attaching itself to actual tragedy, but it is the most recent.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, yes, the idea of the game is fucked up. You can either play in the role of a school shooter or a member of the SWAT team trying to put an end to the situation. Obviously, this is a huge issue because of the sheer amount of actual incidents that have happened over the years, and specifically in 2018, as the game was announced just weeks after nationwide coverage of two of those events.
Yeah, there's plenty of arguments to be made here. On one hand, there's the fact that video games have featured the ability to just mow people down for years, and no one's really batted an eye outside of pearl-clutching parents and overbearing politicians who simply use these games as an example that the youth of today has been poisoned by this form of entertainment. Now, the term youth of today, in relation to this video game stuff, basically equates to anyone from the last 3 generations of people. Give or take a few years where video games were just pixels bouncing around on a screen. As we're all aware, though, numerous studies and actual data they exist, and video games aren't corrupting the youth in any real way. And this whole topic is usually just brought up as a scare tactic and a way to place blame on a certain thing for something else being horrific, because people don't like not knowing why something happens or why someone would be so heartless. So something gets the blame, people can sleep at night, I guess, whatever.
Then, of course, there's the very valid argument that this game in particular was created with the sole intention to be offensive, insensitive, and to piss people off for the sake of what we would honestly consider trolling, because yes, you don't make a game like this with this plot without knowing full well that you're gonna upset a lot of people and spark a debate about the title that results in your game getting a bunch of free press. It's what we like to call a dick move. So that was with Hatred like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, regardless of where you stand on these issues, because we know a lot of the people who watch this show teeter back and forth on all issues and aren't just extremes of one side or the other. The game itself was actually pulled from the Steam platform for a few reasons.
Yeah, the obvious one would be the amount of bad press that they were receiving for being a host of the upcoming title, and we're sure that this reason had a lot to do with it. But the reason that they gave for actually pulling it down was that they discovered that the developer/publisher behind the game was actually already banned from their platform for doing shady shit in the past and had just re-registered with a new company name. A rep for Valve was quoted in a statement to Kotaku saying, "This developer and publisher is in fact a person calling himself Ada Berdijev, who had previously been removed last fall when he was operating as BC Interactive and Elusive Team."
Okay, so the report went on to say that the Valve representative described the dev as a troll who had a history of customer abuse, publishing copyrighted material, and user review manipulation. So basically, the title wasn't banned for the overall plot and gameplay, but rather because the dev publisher was known to be a problem within their store and someone who regularly abused their customers in ways outside of just being offensive.
Yeah.
The rep ended their conversation with Kotaku saying that, quote, "The broader conversation about Steam's content policies is one that we'll be addressing soon." And guys, just a few days later, they did. And it came as a shock to people on both sides of this argument.
Yeah, they appear to have just kind of said, fuck it, we're
No
not your
rules.
we're not your goddamn babysitters, nor should we be. And we're going to allow the consumer to pick and choose whatever the hell they want to play, regardless of whether or not some other gamer finds it offensive, or more likely, a parent finds it offensive, or someone who's constantly finding things to be upset about despite it having little to no effect on their lives. Both of us obviously think that a game like Active Shooter is a fucking terrible idea, and that it was created solely for the purpose of being offensive for the reasons we already mentioned. You don't have to agree with us, but whatever, that's how we feel about the issue. You want to know anyway. We do, however, feel that Valve is making the right choice here and letting the consumer decide what they want to play or not. And because of their decision to let people decide what they can and can't play, it's really, really pissing off numerous outlets and outspoken people on social media.
Yeah, realistically though, people are going to play whatever they want, whether that's a new Warhammer game, a game where you get to brutally kill Nazis, a game where you can be a wizard and fight demons with your friends, a game where you can bang hookers and then kill them before driving your car into pedestrians and raid a drug deal, Roblox, Minecraft, Mortal Kombat, or any number of other story-based games that are literally just hentai.
There's something for everyone.
Yeah, and someone is going to hate what you're playing, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Valve touches on this in their press release regarding the decision for their storefront. And we'll just read you some selects from it, as well as linking it below, so you can read the whole thing yourself.
Yeah, here it goes. Recently, there's been a bunch of community discussion around what kind of games we're allowing onto the Steam store. As is often the case, the discussion caused us to spend some time examining what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we could be doing it better. Contrary to many assumptions, this isn't a space we've automated. Humans at Valve are very involved, with groups of people looking at the contents of every controversial title submitted to us. Similarly, people have falsely assumed these decisions are heavily affected by our payment processors or outside interest groups. Nope, it's just us grappling with a really hard problem.
Yeah, the challenge is that this problem is not simply about whether or not the Steam store should contain games with adult or violent content. Instead, it's about whether the store contains games within an entire range of controversial topics: politics, sexuality, racism, gender, violence, identity, and so on. In addition, there are controversial topics that are particular to games, like what even constitutes a game, or what level of quality is appropriate before something can be released. What's considered acceptable discussion/behavior/imagery varies significantly around the world, socially and legally. Even when we pick a single country or state, the legal definitions around these topics can be too broad or vague to allow us to avoid making subjective and interpretive decisions. The harsh reality of this space that lies at the root of our dilemma is that there is absolutely no way we can navigate it without making some of our players really mad. In addition, Valve is not a small company. We're not a homogenous group. The online debates around these topics play out inside Valve as well. We don't all agree on what deserves to be on the store. So when we say there's no way to avoid making a bunch of people mad when making decisions in this space, we're including our own employees, their families, and their communities in that.
So we ended up going back to one of the principles in the forefront of our minds when we started Steam, and more recently as we worked on Steam Direct to open up the store to many more developers. Valve shouldn't be the ones deciding this. If you're a player, we shouldn't be choosing for you what content you can or can't buy. If you're a developer, we shouldn't be choosing what content you're allowed to create. Those choices should be yours to make. Our role should be to provide systems and tools to support your efforts to make these choices for yourself, and to help you do it in a way that makes you feel comfortable.
With that principle in mind, we've decided that the right approach is to allow everything onto the Steam store except for things that we decide are illegal or straight up trolling. Taking this approach allows us to focus less on trying to police what should be on Steam and more on building those tools that give people control over what kinds of content they see. We are going to enable you to override our recommendation algorithms and hide games containing the topics you're not interested in. So if you don't want to see anime games on your store, you'll be able to make that choice. If you want more options to control exactly what kind of games your kids see when they browse the store, you'll be able to do that. And it's not just players that need better tools either. Developers who build controversial content shouldn't have to deal with harassment because their game exists, and we'll be building tools and options to support them too.
So what does this mean? It means the Steam store is going to contain something you hate and don't think should exist. Unless you don't have any opinions. That's guaranteed to happen. But you're also going to see something on the store that you believe should be there, and some other people will hate it and want it not to exist. It also means that the games we allow onto the store will not be a reflection of Valve's values, beyond a simple belief that you all have the right to create and consume the content you choose. The 2 points above apply to all of us at Valve as well. If you see something on Steam you think should not exist, it's almost certain that someone at Valve is right there with you. No, that's the basic premise of their statement. It goes on.
Yeah, so they then go on to say that they won't be implementing any of these changes until they fully develop the proper tools needed to actually make what they're trying to do a reality. Even after explaining their decision, there has been backlash online and also support, which pretty much proves their point, but is also probably causing them to worry a bit because of the fact that a lot of big companies out there have the power to pull their games from Valve or continue to pressure them over certain titles.
Yeah.
You can also be damn sure that, at least for the next few months until people just forget about it, outlets are going to be combing over every little title they can as proof that Valve's concept just isn't working, so be prepared for that too.
Yeah.
It's definitely a risky move for a company, but then again, the idea of just letting people choose what they want to do or play, it shouldn't be as controversial as it's become. I have a feeling someone is going to make a game so absolutely
That's the other side.
horrendous that they are going to absolutely regret this, though.
Yeah, that's the problem.
People
is
are
you're
going to
basically
challenge this.
opening the door to have people. Some people are going to look at this as an opportunity to prove them wrong.
Yeah, Valve's being like, I'm unoffendable. Don't even bother.
Come at me, bro.
Yeah, and someone's gonna make just like Holocaust, necrophilia, pedophilia simulator.
Yeah.
And Valve's gonna be like, fuck, shit.
Well, okay. They did say what they consider trolling or illegal. That
Yeah.
would fall into the trolling category. So there is some kind of hands-on approach to this. If it's blatant trolling, not going to be on there. So maybe that's the loophole there. But
Yeah.
yes, I can definitely see people attempting to put
Yeah.
very fucked up shit on this.
I mean, as long as there's a way for me to just be like,
nope.
hide this fucking suggestion and never show it to me again,
Yeah.
that'll be fine for me.
But not, hey, fuck you, Elliot, because it should be off the platform, is what some people think. Hey, either way, you'll let us know how you feel about this decision in the comments below. So yeah, that's enough. We'll read the comments and see what you think. But let's end this episode on a sort of positive note. All right, well, it's not really positive, but it's at least something that certain people can agree on. This old lady was kind of a bitch.
Yeah, and she's dead.
And her kids really wanted to let everyone know that she was a bitch because when Kathleen Demlow of Minnesota passed away recently, her surviving children submitted her obituary to the local paper. And it was approved because who the hell's going to read every obituary submitted? And they paid for it, so here you go. The obituary, it started out normally, as they all do, but then went a little off the rails.
Kathleen was born in 1938, married a guy named Dennis, and had 2 children, Gina and Jay. Boring, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it goes on. In 1962, she became pregnant by her husband's brother and moved to California. She abandoned her children, Gina and Jay, who were then raised by her parents. She passed away on May 31st, 2018 in Springfield and will now face judgment. She will not be missed by Gina and Jay, and they understand that this world is a better place without her. Yikes!
Jeez.
Well, they got
Yeah.
the last word there.
Yeah, well, the newspaper pulled the obituary after readers felt it was in poor taste.
They go around to everyone's house with a pair of scissors?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, these people who thought it was in poor taste, they obviously have no sympathy for her children who had to live without a mom for decades. The paper also stated that the family of the woman who was 80 when she died paid for the obituary, and while you could assume that maybe it was just a fake and a prank and was printed as a goof, the newspaper confirmed that it spoke to another relative who confirmed that, quote, the allegations in the obituary are true, but there is more to the story. Unfortunately for us, that was the end of the story in the local news. They didn't elaborate on the other side of that story. So we're just left to assume that Kathy was a shitty mom who abandoned her kids, who then hated her so much that they're glad she's dead and hope God is punishing her. Thank you to the Patreon Discord channel who submitted that story. Good job on you. You're making the show even better. If you want to join the Patreon, or the Discord, links below. Check it out, support the show, and watch our other videos. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and we'll see you very, very soon.
Smash that bell.
Smash
Ding,
it.
ding.
Break it.
Break it.